Last year we did this season on angels, didn't we? And I was a bit reluctant to do a season on angels because I think there's a lot of madness around it. There's a lot of stuff that's really nothing to do with faith or anything else for that matter. There's some great fiction out there around angels. In fact, it's a fantastic idea. But partly when you start talking about it, you just start sounding like a crazy person. And I think whilst having a faith is a slightly mad thing to have, it's less mad than not having one, in my view. And I think, I mean, weirdly, I think it's logical to have a faith. It's a perfectly rational thing to do, to have a faith. The kind of zealot atheists won't agree with that, but, you know, don't come here then. You don't have to listen to me. Anyway, so having looked at angels, we kind of got into spiritual beings, didn't we? And so we did the Old Testament. We did a lot of debunking, if you remember. Look, let's move on from Texas. I did mention Canada, but you know us Brits, we can't tell the difference between America and Canada and the States, and well, basically we Brits can't tell the difference between anyone, can we? We're not renowned for our geography and sense of national identity with other countries, are we? Anyway, let's not get into that one today, shall we not? Look, leave the Canada. Anyway, I'm going back to the plot. So we're continuing our erratic look at kind of the angelic realm, and particularly now we've moved on to where Jesus is with all this. So if you are new today, if you come along for the first time, I'm sorry you picked such a weird subject as we're going to have now. We don't always talk about this stuff, but last year one of the things I foolishly said, I said there's only two particularly identified angels in the Bible. There's only two that are named. There's Michael and there's Gabriel, and they pop up in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. And I thought, so I said, well, because they're specifically specified, I said, well, we'll look at them. And then Joe helpfully pointed out that the devil is also specifically specified as a specific angelic, heavenly being. So I wasn't off the hook. So thanks, Joe. Anyway, so we're going to be thinking about the devil. And the truth is, I've avoided this subject for a long time because I don't really think we should give the devil and evil any attention. The more fuss you make of it, the more people kind of start thinking about it and getting involved, and you give it power, don't you? It's a bit like if you've got a bad memory of something, perhaps you, I don't know, had a car accident or whatever. The more you think about it, the more powerful the thought gets, doesn't it? It kind of inflates, doesn't it? And I think evil is the same, and I think the devil is the same, or similar. So I've avoided it, and also because that's not what we're about. We are a people of the light. The war's been won. Love has already won. And I don't want to give the devil any more attention than I need to. But on the other hand, it's worth knowing our stuff, because if nothing else, we can counter the misinformation that gets thrown at us. Because people outside, out and about, they go, oh, you believe in the devil, don't you? Oh, the devil, and they tell us stuff. I don't know if you've had this, people telling you what you believe. People who've never been within the church or never read the Bible and that kind of stuff. And it's fine, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But at least do your research. It's like when you're sharing stuff on Facebook. At least do your research. Don't share it if you don't know who the person is and you don't know what they think and you don't know really what their angle is. But people will say stuff to you, and if we're a bit informed, well, we can then say, well, yeah, that's what people think, but this is what we believe. So it kind of it helps us counter that misinformation, and it also shows us, I think, that we've got nothing to fear if we've got God in our life, because God is bigger. And people are interested in the devil, I suppose partly because such a fuss is made. I mean, he's there in the Bible. Every now and then the devil pops up. But popular culture throughout history has loved a devilish tale, hasn't it? And the popular view is that the church do believe in it, and the church do believe there's this red guy with a fork prodding people and usually laughing in the background. Oh, that's Father Christmas, isn't it? Anyway, you get the idea. People think, just as they misunderstand what Jesus is about, and Jesus is about forgiveness and acceptance and love and change and life and joy and hope, they kind of think Jesus is about, well, you shouldn't be doing this. Well, actually, and they also misunderstand what the devil is about. So at the risk, that's a very long introduction, wasn't it? But at the risk of sounding like a crazy person, here's some stuff on the devil. I got some pictures. I would have done a nice PowerPoint for you, but I can't do the share screen. Here's a traditionalish one. I could make that into a mask, couldn't I? And here's a hip kind of modern one. That's quite trendy, isn't it? This is the devil that goes down the gym, isn't it? I mean, I don't know, look at that. I mean, it's a nicely done piece of work. But think of the dentist bills if you had teeth like that. This is kind of a more... Well, here's the medieval one. If you like medieval art, this kind of... I'm not sure what... European medieval art. I'm not kind of sure what period that is. It's probably... I'm just wildly guessing here. Sorry if there's any medievalists out there. That looks kind of 10th, 11th-ish century, doesn't it? The devil and the demons look like that. For some reason, at this period, it's Bosch, wasn't it? What period was it? They like putting faces on stomachs as well. I don't know what's going on there. Here's your classic sophisticated gentleman one. This is very Faust. I feel I should read Faust because I keep talking about Faust like I know what I'm talking about, and I don't. Anyway, I think this is Mephistopheles. Now, folklore. Oh, here's another one. This is another modern take. This is quite Faustian, isn't it? And again, the devil's there. He's really been at the steroids on that one, I tell you. I mean, he wouldn't have any time to do evil if he had muscles like that, would he? Because he'd be down the gym pretty much all the time. If you've got muscles like that, you can't have a full-time job. The other type of the devil is and traditionally in Europe, the devil's quite a folklore character, and it's almost a comedy character. And you end up with this kind of thing where, I don't know who that is, he's got a comedy hat on, so it's probably a bishop. But the devil is someone that you can kind of mess about with and beat up and trick. And there's another one. We'll come to this. Oh no, not that one, that one. This kind of imagery in a moment, where you meet the devil and you have a conversation. And the devil's kind of almost a kind of fairy creature. It's very strange. But this is the one that most, I think contemporary times in the West now, this is probably more the image you've got. I don't know why God looks like a white American. No offence, Americans. But I suspect this is an American picture. God's a big, beefy white guy, and the devil's a big, beefy red guy. There might be some subconscious American stuff going on there, I don't know. But the idea that the two of them are in conflict and they're sitting across the table as equals. We'll get to that bit as well in a moment. I don't know why God would wear a cross, do you? Would God the Father wear a cross, a necklace with a cross on? Because Jesus bears the scars of the cross, doesn't he? In the imagery of Revelation. Well, in fact, in the post-resurrection appearances, Jesus wears the... this has nothing to do with today's subject, but Jesus bears the scars of the cross in his hands and his side and his head. But whether God would wear... I don't know. I don't know, do you? Anyway... You know the idea, you get the image, you know the image. You know, the devil, big guy, red skin, horns, hooves, tridents, bad teeth. And then you get the variants, don't you? The kind of variant types. You've got sexy devils and comedy devils and saucy devils and horror film devils and cheeky devils and sophisticated gentleman devils, the medieval kind of devil, and so on and so on and so on. It's almost as if there's no clear picture of who and what the devil is. Because, of course, there isn't any clear picture of who or what the devil is. So let's start at the beginning, like we did with the angel stuff. Let's start with the debunking. Because there's nothing like a good debunking, is there? Jay, do you like a nice debunking? He just walked in and goes,
Is that when you've got a bunk bed and then you put it into a normal bed?
you debunk.
Yeah.
In fact, I have debunked beds, have you?
Yeah, what's that?
Anyway, we're being distracted again. So what myths have grown around the figure of the devil? What's actually from the Bible? And what comes from elsewhere, like popular culture and art and music and just general conversation. So I've done the research, so you don't have to. Although, of course, you probably should check, because always check your sources. Am I just talking nonsense? Shh. Don't take my word for it. So we'll take some of those kind of key things. Oh, the devil's like this. Red, a bodybuilder, God's arch enemy and opposite. You can make a deal with the devil. He rules over hell. He uses a trident. He likes the number 666. He plays the violin. He likes fire. There's a hierarchy of demons. He wants to eat your soul, and he's a sexy beast. That's my list to debunk. I don't know if I've missed anything. If I have, put it in there. We'll see what's going on. I'm just seeing what people. Yeah, okay. He does appear in an episode of the X-Files. Vicky, have you had too much sugar again this morning? The C of E are on about changing the image of Jesus. I don't know what to make of that information. We'll come back to that later. But anyway, all those things about the devil, basically, the answer, I think, is nope. It's nope. As you would expect, and just like the complex kind of angel thing, I blame the Western medieval period for this. With all their weird paintings and all their trying to scare people into obedience. If life on this earth is short and painful, as it was for most people in that kind of, well, up until the last century or so, really, you need to do something to control people, because if they think, I'm not going to live very long, I may as well make the most of it, you need to control them. And the way that you can control them, I believe, I'm not a paranoid or a conspiracy theorist, you control them by saying, if you don't behave yourself, the next life is going to be even worse. And that way, you need something to scare people with. So you tell them, if you don't behave yourself in this world, the next ones you're going to be paying. So you need a big army of baddies. As followers of Jesus, the main source of our information is the Bible, obviously, and I will read from it in a moment. So that should be our main source of information on the heavenly realm, which would include the devil. So let's get rid of that non-biblical guff on the devil, and then if there's time, which there won't be because we're going to finish it next week, we'll take a look at the biblical stuff. So we'll start with, what does the devil look like? Because this is what people have in their mind, isn't it? What does the devil look like? There's a picture. For some reason, the devil is coloured red a lot. I'm not sure why. I mean, that is probably more recently in the West. But if you look at pictures, I guess older European sort of pictures, the colours vary. I'm not sure about internationally where Christianity spread out and from. I probably should have checked that one, shouldn't I? Anyway, there's nothing in the Bible that really refers to the colour of the devil. In fact, nothing in the Bible that directly references the devil in terms of what he looks like. Nothing. No, not even that. Nothing. Well, not until you get to Revelation. So the idea that the devil is some red, steroid pumped up kind of thing, it's made up. And looking at the images of the devil, he does get more pumped in the last sort of 50 years or so. I guess that's the body fashion thing, you know, He-Man, She-Ra kind of stuff. Now the red could be from Revelation, because in Revelation, the book of Revelation, you get a dragon, and the dragon is red, a red dragon that fights against the archangel Michael, who's the kind of warrior angel. And the dragon is the devil, or Satan. But in this vision, that's what the devil is. He's a dragon. So there you go. Don't know what's going on there with the red dragon, because that's also Wales, isn't it? Sorry, Louise and co. Because it was a white dragon for Britain, wasn't it? Anyway, see, we're mixing up our imagery here. Anyway, so there's no reference really anywhere to the devil being this red guy. And when we get to the hooves and the goat's legs and the and all that stuff. You know that one? That one. You know what that is, don't you? If you've read The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, you know what that is. That's a faun or a satyr. I think satyrs, is that pronounced right? They came first. They're Greek, aren't they? They're Greek, half goat, half human. And I think the faun is the Roman version, because the Romans basically, it would seem, stole all the good stuff from the Greek stories and renamed it. So that image is taken from another antiquity. Why it got associated? Well, it could be because it's a wild god. The faun was the god of the wild, so then maybe that imagery kind of overlapped into Christian consciousness. The trident, I don't know. Perhaps, well, Poseidon had a trident, didn't he? Perhaps the medieval people just thought that was the worst pointy thing you could get. I don't know. I guess you get 3 stabs rather than 1 from a trident, don't you? So there you go anyway. Red devil, satyr, faun. It's not in there. It's made up. It's made up to scare you. Now, can you make a deal with the devil? Can you make a deal with the devil? Well, that's part of folklore, isn't it? That people make a deal with the devil. They sometimes play the banjo, don't they? Or chess or draughts or something. Or checkers, isn't it? Now, Faust seemed to have that idea contained within that story. But even then, it's made up with a demon. The demon, if you remember, is also a cat's name, Mephistopheles. But again, that's not biblical. I think, in fact, the name was made up for the story anyway. It's not the devil himself, so I don't know where that idea came from, that you can make a deal with the devil. It's basic classic horror stuff, isn't it? It's from horror films, you know, about you've got to make a bad deal and pay the eternal price. In fact, all that stuff about the devil eating your soul, it's for the fearmonger. All that soul-eating stuff, you know, the devil wants your soul, the devil will take your soul, all that stuff. It's not biblical. It's made up to scare people. The only person who decides our fate, the only person who holds on to my soul and your soul is God. And you can't put yourself out of the reach of God. You can't make an arrangement that God can't change. Now, that could take us down a twisty discussion around logic and philosophy over whether God is restricted by rules, which means there are things that God can't do. God cannot break God's own rules. Which doesn't make any sense, because we can make rules and break them, so why can't God? That makes us more powerful than God. You know, there's kind of logic and philosophy in there over would God create a rule that would potentially harm the people that he loved? And that's us. And why would God have to do what the devil told him anyway? If God was there at the very beginning, when chaos was everywhere and there was nothingness kind of a chaos, and God spoke and the world came into being, why would God then just turn around if some little red guy says, well, actually, God, you can't do that. You know the rules. And God goes, well, I don't make the rules. Well, actually, I do. You see, it doesn't make any sense how someone could be stolen from God. It's made up to scare people. We can get to evil later, but the character of the devil, and I think that's what folklore, this is just my understanding, folklore has taken the devil as that, and I say in the past, the devil has been almost a comedy character, just a trickster almost, causing trouble. He's not really a trickster, like you get in other faith streams and other stories, other cultures. The devil's a slightly different character. But yeah. Oh, it's interesting. It is interesting. Anyway, so you also get this stuff about the devil being the ruler of hell, liking fire. And this came up in the talk on the angels. The devil, right, doesn't rule hell sitting on a big throne. There's a picture here, wasn't it? One of them bodybuilder devils. I don't know where he's gone now. Where's he gone? There he is. Sitting on a throne. The devil doesn't rule in hell. I think that's Dante's Inferno. Oh no, the devil's caught somewhere, isn't he? He's got ice. I don't know, I haven't read it. I'm trying to make myself sound like I've read literature. That's not anywhere in the Bible. If you're going to take the devil idea and use it, then stick with our cosmology, please. Hell is a fiery place, according to a very few references in the New Testament. But it's a place where the devil gets sent. And in the vision of the end of the world, it gets emptied out. God basically takes hell and shakes it out. Everyone comes out. It's empty. And then it gets thrown on the fire. There is no eternal hell. So there's no hell that the devil rules over. The devil doesn't rule anywhere. Get over it. He's not in hell. And I would add to that, you're not going there either. Hell will be done with when the kingdom comes. You see, people like to riff on this idea of revelation. There are films about it, aren't there? There's apocalypses and the devil pops out from under the earth and causes all kinds of trouble. You know, it makes a great film, doesn't it? I mean, I think Arnold Schwarzenegger was in one of them, wasn't he? And it was in Doctor Who's used it. Someone else. Was he in the X-Files as well? Oh, in Yoruba, this is good. Oh, no, you're all kicking. I haven't been keeping up. Anyway, I'm going to read your comments in a moment. People will let me read your comments because they're actually more interesting than what I've got to say. Here we go. Right, I'm going to just. We'll come back to mine because yours is more interesting. Oh, Jürgen Moltmann talks about how we view the cross. I meant to read that. The devil plays the banjo. I'm coming to that in a moment, you know. If the devil exists, he's no match for God. See, that's right. Fallen angel. Next week, we're going to get on to why would God make a devil? Yeah? The devil looks like Adam Sandler. Vicky, are you sure you haven't had too much sugar this morning? Red to reflect communism. Yes, that's probably right. Yeah, so red reflects communism versus the West. You know, well, that's the thing, isn't it? People paint their enemy as Satan, don't they? Your enemy is the devil. Your enemy are demons. Your enemy are less than human. Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, send me some stuff, or I could research it myself, couldn't I? Suppose. Stop being lazy. I could. The Yoruba mythology on the devil and what the devil looks like and all that kind of stuff. Well, Frank says the devil's a created being, so can't match the creator. That's the whole issue with this sort of thing, is if the devil's a created being, which it has to be, if you're going with if you're taking our faith tradition, then there's no way he's going to beat God up. No way. Come on. Making a deal with the devil is part of an early atonement theory with Gregory of Nyssa. Oh, okay. God tricks the devil with a baited hook. I'll explain on Wednesday. It's part of the A-level I teach. So come on volunteering Wednesday if you want, and Sarah will be giving a micro lecture on a deal with the devil. The deal with the devil is it is part of folklore, isn't it? People say, well, if you do this, I can do it. And the Faust is that, isn't it? It's that pact to have a great life, and in return you give the devil your soul. But the devil's always being tricked out of this sort of stuff. I can't think of a specific example now of where the devil is tricked. But in folklore, the devil's almost, in European folklore, it's kind of an evil fairy, or the kind of baddie, and the devil, sometimes it's the devil, sometimes it isn't. The devil moves stones as well when people try and make churches, or drops things, and that's where something happens. So the devil is a kind of a strange character, nothing like the biblical one in folklore, but we kind of absorb all this stuff, don't we? I mean, when we get to next week, we're looking at like the names of the devil, Lucifer, Satan, all those things, and say, well, are these the same character, the same person? What do they mean? Why do those names pop up? Little Nicky, okay. The devil, yes, I was aware of that. When I started saying, Noah says the devil had a deal with Job, and that's the only person who seems to make a deal. Even then, it's not really a deal, is it? God gives the devil permission. I mean, they do have a bit of a wager, actually, don't they? Yeah. So they have a wager over how faithful Job is. This is really interesting, isn't it? And it's already 11:45. I'm just see if I've got anything in. So we'll come to that, because that's one of the key roles of the devil, particularly in the Old Testament. The Satany is there, which is the accuser. And basically the devil goes around and goes, well, look at them. And they're not much good. And the idea of the accuser is one that I think that some people can relate to, because it is like a voice in your head. Look at you. You haven't done that. You're not very good. What about you? That idea of the accuser. But that's also the idea of a kind of heavenly court, where God sits there and the angels come and report to him. Yeah. Anyway, why did you get? Can we do Job? We'll look at Job next week. Why did God permission? There's a quote somewhere that I read, picked up this morning, about the devil's only can go to the end of his chain. So he has some power, but only so much. And that is an interesting one, because it comes into all these issues around free will, doesn't it, for human beings? Why does God allow evil in the world? Why is there evil in the world? And the other option is, if you think it through, if you don't allow evil in the world, there is no free will. Because where do you stop? You can do so much and then I'll intervene, says God. It doesn't actually work in reality. It's a nice idea to say, well, God will let you do this. He'll let you drive at 30 miles an hour, but if you start driving at 40, he'll stop you, because so you don't hit someone in the car. Is that what God should be doing? No, perhaps he should just stop people murdering. Well, he'll stop you going out to buy a gun. But what if I go out and buy a knife? Or stop you going out and buy a knife? Well, what if I just want to punch someone? Well, that's all right. No, that's not. That's still evil. Well, perhaps God will stop me punching people then. Okay. Well, what about if I start thinking bad thoughts about them and I hate them? Well, that's all right. Well, no, it's not, because then that leads to me to want to do bad things. Well, perhaps God should stop us thinking bad thoughts. Well, all of a sudden, there's no free will. Do you see? So, from a human point of view, I can see that. But if God created angels, and part of the thing with angels is, and again, this is kind of riffing on it, interpreting it, that angels don't have the same element of free will. When I was reading about angels, one of the ideas was that the angels all chose right at the start whose team they're on, kind of thing, and then that's it. They were fixed at that point, which kind of is a way of explaining it. I don't know how we get that in the Bible, but it's kind of, I guess it's trying to make sense of it. But it's almost as though there is this element of, I don't know. See, I'm thinking as I go along here, which I know I should have all the answers, shouldn't I? This idea that perhaps humans have free will, so we choose to do evil, bad things happen, and we actually make it worse. Perhaps there is a role that the angels have, which is kind of nudging us and working with us and testing us. Although I'm not sure that I'm quite fully on board with that one. But it's whether there's an antagonistic force to God, like we normally understand the devil to be. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, we're already into week 2, aren't we? It does depend on how you take it, and that we'll come to that one as well, because some Christians would say there is no devil. It's just a personification of evil. So all that evil we do, it's easier to say, well, that's a personification. If we say the devil made me do it, I don't mean there was a little character sitting on my shoulder making me do it, but it helps me kind of contain and understand that evil. And some Christians accept that. If you want my honest view on it, I won't tell you, because it will keep you watching, won't it? That's the way of doing it. We have chosen our team, haven't we? But we can choose to move, can't we? Anyway, just see how it starts going all over the shop when you pull in a film and a book and a bit of the Bible and then a song and then the devil playing the banjo. Revelation. Read Revelation 13 if you want to see more about the kind of dragon and all that stuff. And all that stuff, but to see the devil as a big fiery red evil character who rules this great domain, it's just not there. It's not there at all. And incidentally, 666 is not the devil's number, nor is it the house he lives at, despite that song. It's the number of the beast. And it's a human number. And if you know who it is, you know who I'm talking about. Says John the Divine, who wrote the book of Revelation. Anyway, more on that perhaps at another point. Send in your questions. But you see, it goes all over the place. And actually, the waters get very muddy here. But when you actually, I think, when you actually get to the devil, and I'm going to have to stop in a few minutes, when you actually get to the devil, things get far more mundane, really. The devil isn't this mysterious, slightly cool character with big wings and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't make it less evil. In fact, it makes it more evil, I think. All the supernatural horror and the gore, that's been added to the story. And actually, that's a load of noise that distracts us from the truth of evil, I think. If you say, well, it's the devil, or all this is what's evil, which means if it's all like this, it's fine. Actually, it's not. You know, if you look at the way trade works internationally, that's the work of the devil. It keeps people oppressed and underpaid and ill and uneducated and dying. That's evil. That's the work of the devil. It's not some bloke with big leathery wings. So evil is far more mundane to look at, far harder to spot than all this other stuff. But perhaps we'll come to that also later. I don't know how many weeks do we want to do on this, not too many. Anyway, to go through a few more myths. The devil plays the violin. Well, I don't think so. Not unless you waited till the 16th century anyway, because they weren't around till then. I've heard people play the violin pretty badly. I mean, I'll be honest. The demon hierarchy, which is very popular on the internet, particularly amongst gamers and role-playing games, all that kind of stuff. You remember the angelology that we talked about, which I know it sounds like you're drunk when you say it, angelology. The angelology that we looked at were those tiers of types of angels. And the way that books and films use it and assume, if you forgive my phrase, assume it's gospel. Well, you remember the angelology was basically invented by the other thing, that man with a very long name with lots of letters in it. Well, demonologies have an even flimsier pedigree, really. The Bible has no types of demon as far as I can find. There's the devil and there's demons, and that's it. So sorry, Mephistopheles and all them, they're just not there. You'll find them maybe in other sacred texts and other faiths, but not in ours, not in our cosmology. The early church seemed pretty unbothered by it, and you kind of think, well, actually, when the early church is working out what's going on, you think they'd put them in if they thought they were there. More significantly, Jesus didn't have a complex demonology. He just kicked them out, told them to get lost. That's it. He didn't say, well, this is this type, and if you got to collect them all. You can catch the whole set. Jesus said, that's a demon. Off you go. That was how Jesus responded. So you see the church and our faith even demythologizing again the universe. It's not full of angels and demons pulling us in every direction and demanding our attention and all with different sorts of outfits on. The main supernatural power is God. And that's the power we should be bothered by. That's the power we should be interested in. That's the power we should be seeking. So this is kind of the main point. I'm skipping that paragraph. It's not that interesting. No, really. The main point, people talk as though there's a dualism within the universe. There's good and bad, light and dark, yin and yang, up and down, in and out, shaking it all about. They talk like there's a balance that has to be struck, as though the universe needs to be balanced 50-50, doesn't it, between the two. Some faiths would hold with that, but ours doesn't. Some faiths say that you need to have them all in perfect balance and the universe will all come together. Our faith says that goodness and love are the clear winners. At the beginning and at the end, goodness and love and light win. They're the foundation and they are the truth. And love and light have won and will win. God isn't in competition with the devil. This is complete bullshit, I think. They are neither competing to win the universe for their side, nor are they struggling to keep the balance. Evil hurts and scars what is essentially a good world, a beautiful creation. God made the universe and it was good, and it is good. The devil is, for want of a better phrase, an angel gone wrong. The devil won't win. The devil won't take anyone's soul because we all belong to God. The devil can't win because of God and because of the cross and because of Jesus and because he was never going to. The devil is a temporary evil that we have to live with. Come the kingdom, all evil will be cast out. Because light wins, and love wins, and God wins. So don't forget it. So next week, we'll have a walk through the Bible. We'll look at more detail. I'm going to read, and then we'll spend a few minutes in prayer. We'll look at where the devil pops up and what the Bible's talking about. And we'll also look at Jesus' take on this. And we'll be asking, should we be afraid? How seriously should we take this? I'm not saying it's all a joke. We should take evil very seriously. But in the meantime, know that you are held in God's hand. God is before you and behind you and above you and below you. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has never put it out. Live in the light of God this week, and the darkness will flee. Just going to read from Ephesians. And that about wraps it up. God is strong and he wants you strong. So take everything the Master has set out for you, well-made weapons of the best materials, and put them to use so you'll be able to stand up to everything the devil throws your way. This is no afternoon athletic contest we'll walk away from and forget about in a couple of hours. This is for keeps, a life or death fight to the finish against the devil and all his angels. Be prepared. You're up against far more than you can handle on your own. Take all the help you can get, every weapon God has issued, so that when it's all over but the shouting, you'll still be on your feet. Truth, righteousness, peace, faith, and salvation are far more than words. Learn how to apply them. You'll need them throughout your life. God's word is an indispensable weapon. In the same way, prayer is essential in this ongoing warfare. Pray hard and long. Pray for your brothers and sisters. Keep your eyes open and keep each other's spirits up so that no one falls behind or drops out. Amen. I'll close with these words from Ephesians and then we'll share the grace together. And then stick around. We'll have a chat. Goodbye, friends. Love mixed with faith be yours from God the Father and from the Master Jesus Christ. Pure grace and nothing but grace be with all who love our Master, Jesus Christ. And may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all evermore. Amen. Amen. I've made a note of some of the things people have said as we went along there. I should probably go through all of it again. Ah, yes. You see, all this stuff about the devil, it is really interesting. But as I say, that's not what we're about. We shouldn't be studying the devil all the time. But I suppose it's interesting in terms of what evil is, isn't it? But again, we're not all about evil. We're about goodness. And I'd rather we worked on being good, how we can be better, how we can grow, how we can bring God's kingdom, than we spend time on what's wrong with everything and how the world's a terrible place. Because we know it is, in parts. So it's getting that balance, isn't it? But on the other hand, I guess you can't fight a disease if you don't know anything about it. So that's part of the battle that we are in. So we'll give it a bit of time. Maybe do a couple of weeks, have time off, come back to it. But it's fascinating. I mean, also what's fascinating is this stuff around trickster. I kind of like that thing. So I'm just seeing if I've missed everyone else. Job. See, Job's a very interesting one. The devil is splitting. And a projection of evil. What's the projection of our good potential? Yes, it was all, yeah. Yeah, your take on all this is always useful. That's what I kind of liked this morning when people were putting in what they thought about it. Or questions, things, oh, can we explore this? Can we look at that? It's interesting. Yes, the loci, trickster. A lot of the is it hyena? Or is it what's the other dog type animal in Native America? It's not. Is it? It's not hyena. Jackal. Is it jackal? Any one of them's a trickster god. I think in Native American lore. I think a lot of stories see Anansi's kind of a trickster. But again, tricksters aren't necessarily evil. They're kind of a bit. Well, they do their own thing. Tricksters. So they sometimes do terribly bad things, really evil. But other times they're quite good. Loci sometimes is really cooperative and good. It's almost as though they're amoral. They don't care. They're neither good nor bad. They don't give a monkeys. Trickster sort of stuff. Whereas the devil is clearly evil. Or a representative of evil. See, we're still going on it. I think it's because we all want to know kind of why are things wrong, aren't they? Why is there bad? The beast. Adriana said it. Beast. Oh, your pen's running out. Stick around. Isn't Jackal the animal scene with the devil? Well, there isn't an animal scene. Biblically, there isn't. The devil kind of is in the heavenly court, having conversations with God. He sits there along with all the other angels, and then he goes around and about. It's only later, I think it's at the end of the Bible, where this is going into next week's talk really, where the serpent, the snake, is described as the devil. Up until that point, so you have the snake appears, the serpent. We'll touch on this next week, and it is a serpent. It's not. It's an animal. In the telling of Genesis as we have it, it's an animal. It's not a supernatural being. There are supernatural beings in Genesis. The angels, if you remember, the cherubim. Is it the cherubim and the seraphim? It's one of them might be just the cherubim who guard the entrance to Eden, but there's no other heavenly beings there. But then right at the end of the Bible, in Revelation, you get the snake is described as the devil. That's who was always there. So that's an interesting one. I mean, you can draw in, I think there's extra biblical stuff. So there's stuff like the Apocrypha and there's other bits floating about. You start drawing it all in. But kind of my view is actually our faith is based on this, from a sacred text point of view. So if you start using stuff that our forebears in the faith chucked out, well, what else do you bring in? May as well bring in Hollywood as well. Well, that's what the film says. This is what we've used as our source of written information. So I'm happy to go with that. That's the baseline. Measure everything about it. The beast stuff and the Revelation, I will refer. I'll try and refer to that. I mean, it's a different thing. I mean, just to Adriana's asked about that. Just to give a quick one. Some people think that the beast is. John was talking about the Roman Empire and the emperor. 666. Those numbers. I don't know about the 616 that Charlie talks about. Was Nero's name numerically, I think. So a lot of people think that in Revelation, when John is talking about Babylon and all this kind of stuff, he's talking about the Roman Empire because that was out to destroy the early church. But we'll touch on that. That's good.
You have such beautiful eyes. Sometimes I look in them and I feel like I could die. I almost believed you're beautiful inside, but the devil is in the details. He's in the corner of the room you lock the door to. He's on the dashboards of the cars that you pass by. He is in your suitcase or your purse when you leave him. And he's on your tongue every time you lie. He's on your tongue every time you lie. Remember how you played it that night, when you said you walked away, oh, because you had to. Well, you and I would both recognize that lie as the devil in the details. He's in the secrets that you thought you'd hold forever, the same one someone else will share tonight. He's in the pocket of the jeans you look the best in, and he's on your tongue every time you lie. He's on your tongue every time you lie. It's written all over you, it's written on your face, in your eyes, entangled in your hair. It's written all over you, it's written on your face, in those eyes, entangled in your hair. Delicate ways. Sometimes I thought of nothing else for days, except the places where your pretty body lays, and how the devil is in your details. He's in the corner of the room you lock the door to. He's on the dashboards of the cars that you pass by. He's in your suitcase or your purse when you leave him. He's on your tongue every time you lie. He's on your tongue every time you lie. He's on your tongue every time you lie. He's on your tongue